Hello, everyone.
No.
Welcome to What Matters Most. Today, in our episode 6, we're going to talk about the effects of gadgets on children. Actually, I am going to tell you, and Mr. Max is going to tell you about the positive and the negative effects. Bago ang lahat, ito ay magandang talakayan sa mga pamilyang nanonood ngayon. Dahil kami ay actually school owners ng Max-Step Learning Center. At marami ring mga parents na talagang nagtatanong kung paano namin ha-handle ang screen time ng mga anak namin.
I'm Mr. Max.
And I am Ms. Steph. We are the owners of Max-Step
Max-Step
Learning
Learning
Center. Here is the question. Is screen time good or bad? Mr. Max, would you like to share that?
Yeah, actually, one thing that we have to know is that everything has good and bad, or positives and negatives. But the issue is how you use it. We need to balance it. Either we use it in the negative way or the positive way. It's like a knife. Knife can be good, but if someone uses knife the wrong way, it doesn't mean that we won't use knife again. So the issue is, what is the best way or the best approach to use screen time?
So, video games and social media apps are incredibly famous. So, everyone at school might be playing the same games and swiping through the same pictures. They're all watching the same videos, TV shows, and movies too. Then, they chat, they text, and post about them. So, all of these activities use screens. So, ang tawag dyan, flat electronic panels na nagdi-display ng mga images at mga impormasyon. So, the world is full of screens, right? There are TVs, computers, smartphones, and tablets. So, screens are at school, at home, and just about everywhere in between. So, yung time ng mga tao para siya gamitin, ang tawag dyan, screen time. So, ngayon, dito na pumapasok yung mga pamilya, bawat pamilya. They have their own strict rules about how much time children can spend with screens. And others may have fewer rules. So, why do we have any rules that is existing right now? Are adults just trying to ruin the fun? Or are there good reasons to limit screen time?
Like as the saying goes, too much of everything is bad. So we need to try as much as possible to allot the right time so that children will not overuse the screen. Since it has negative repercussions on them if they don't use it wisely.
And actually, people have been asking questions about screens for many years. And some of the first scientific studies of the effects of television, actually, nag-appear siya late 1940s na. Tapos yung mga scientists, talagang nagre-research sila yung paano na epekto ang screen time sa kalusugan, sa relasyon natin sa kapwa-tao, at ganun din sa brain development. However, yung technology develops quickly. So many devices like apps, games are fairly new. So this makes it challenging for the researchers to collect good results. At alam nyo ba na noong 2017 nagkaroon ng survey sa mga pamilya across the United States of America at napagtanto nila na 98% of homes ng may mga bata na below age of 8 have smartphones or tablets. And then children under the age of 8 spend just over 2 hours per day using screens, using tablets, using computers. So children under the age of 8 spend just over 2 hours per day using screens, including TVs, as I said, computers and tablets. And then those between the ages of 8 and 18, could you imagine that spend more than 7 hours per day using screens.
Okay, so now we are going to talk about screens and health. What are some of the challenges that we face whenever we spend too much on the screen? We have situations whereby even students spend too much time on the screen and are even late going to school. And eventually some students also even throw tantrums because they don't get the right sleeping hours for them to gather enough energy whenever they wake up. So those are the challenges that children face when they spend too much on gadgets. So we encourage parents to watch the time that their children, especially at night. We don't have to allow them to sleep 1 a.m. We have students that they sleep 12 a.m. and some even 2 a.m. And in the morning when they wake up, you see that they are super exhausted without unknowingly, and it affects their performance at school also.
Doctors say that students in elementary school should get between 9 and 12 hours of sleep each night. So some researchers actually recommend reading before bed to help the mind and body prepare for sleep, just like what we do to our kids.
Based on our own experience, we realize that what the doctor says really actually works. Because our first boy, Ellie, even at the age of 3.5 years, before 4, every night before he sleeps, I started teaching him the books of the Bible, like memorizing the books of the Bible. And could you imagine that Ellie, before even 4 years, could say the books of the Bible from Genesis to Revelation? So which tells that it's true. Before he sleeps, instead of watching all those things, we try to put positive things in the mind. And once the mind, they also says that once the mind is able to recapture a lot of the vocabularies or some of the things that it received before going to bed. So it's very, very positive.
Ano naman natin ngayon, ang screen at social life. Nako, dyan na pumapasok yung na-experience nyo ba yung nasa hapagkainan kayo, yung kaibigan mo o kaya yung brother mo, yung sister mo, nagte-text, okay? Okay, minsan pa nga may earphone pa, di ba? Habang ngumunguya. Nako, kailangan nating medyo baguhin ang habit na giyon.
Yeah, we try as much as possible to abstain from using screen because it disconnects. And when you are having a family time or dinner time together, it's always good that everybody is connected. Mm-hmm. So it's like if someone is on the phone, it means there is a disconnect. And sometimes when you ask people questions and you have to repeat, which is also not good, which is also will cause somebody to even be upset. So it's always good that if possible, I know it's not easy, maybe because of busyness, we might be expecting some important calls and what have you, but if possible, we should try as much as possible to stay connected during dinner time or lunch time or breakfast to have a strong bonding in the family.
And if you could try to have a rule, just like no screens at the dinner table or during lunchtime. Because you want the family to actually also be connected. And of course, we wanted to also enjoy the food, enjoy the time with the family eating together. Alam niyo ba na maraming tao ang naniniwala na ang screen time can be damaging to eyesight. Naalala ko nung mga panahon namin na nagkakaroon ka ng salamin dahil nagbabasa ka sa walang masyadong ilaw. Kasi natatandaan ko nun ang mami ko sabihin sa akin, Stephanie, huwag kang magbasa ng libro nang hindi mo binubuksan ng ilaw. Yung bang parang pahapon na. Alam mo yun. So, ngayon, ang daming mga bata na nagsusuot ng mga salamin, hindi dahil sa pagbasa ng libro, dahil sa gadget. So, alam nyo din ba na in the United States and Europe, over the last 50 years, nagdoble ang myopia, rates ng myopia or nearsightedness kung tawagin. Many researchers think myopia is connected to a lack of sunlight. So if children spend a lot of time indoors, they may not be getting enough sunlight for their eyes to develop properly.
So now we're going to talk about screens and learning. So because we are in a situation whereby it's impossible to do away with our screen. So the issue is that we need to try as much as possible to adjust. So what are some of the benefits of using the screen? It improves fine motor skills, like how we use the fingers and also keyboard and everything. That is good because it helps children to be more sensitive with touch and everything, which is also good. And cognitively, it helps cognitive skills. It helps to process information, reasoning and remembering and relating objects.
In addition to that, students may even learn skills such as coding computer programs or fixing technical issues. So when students use social media, watch movies, or do research online, they may come across people who are different from them or ideas that they have never thought about before. So this can help students become more welcoming to new people, right, Mr. Max?
Yeah.
And they can even exchange ideas, suggestions.
Yeah, great. It helps them to learn new ideas and try to also connect and see how best they can also improve their lives. So it's good also as well for them.
Did you know that some researchers think that screens change how the brain processes information? So some have linked screen time to lower test scores or shorter attention spans. Actually, for our kids, what we do is balancing. So when they're doing their example, we let them watch educational games or educational videos. We actually have a timer. So if it's 30 minutes, 1 hour, ding, and then the Darko boys will say, Mommy, Daddy, we're done. So that really helps. So I hope you can also try that.
Yeah, so talking about that, initially it's going to be challenging for you, but you don't have to just right away, you tell your child that, no, you are not going to watch it again. So what we normally do, we normally suggest to parents is that, example, if your child spends, let's say, 6 hours a day, we tell you that try to reduce it, talk to the child. It's not because the child is, you just get up and say, no, today you are going to watch only 1 hour, 2 hours. No, psychologically, it will also not benefit the child. So you talk to the child and both of you agree and you set a timer. So once the alarm rings, then he or she will even bring it to you, even though initially it will be difficult, but consistency will get you there. So that is something that we have to do. And for us also, our boys, we try to also balance. We try to balance. Sometimes, even today, we went out to the playground to do some sports and everything. So we have to balance, not only using the computer, because too much of everything is bad. So we have to try to balance it so that health-wise, they will also be more energetic. Because children also need gross motor activities, not only in the house.
Actually, may mga parents din naman na nagtatanong sa amin kung paano ba namin sila nababalanse. Ang marami kaming mga activities sa mga anak namin, like fine motor skills, like painting, even also like for gross motor skills, like jump rope, okay, and then also what are that, roller skating, and bowling, so many activities that they can do. Actually, we have those kind of activities in our YouTube, so you can also check it out, Darko Family, so that you can also have other ideas on how to also make activities inside your home. Alam nyo ba na ang mga scientists, hindi nila alam kung bakit nakaka-impact yun sa brain development nila and learning. They say that the best screen time is active and engaging. So this means using screens to be creative or to play games that involve problem solving rather than simply watching videos. Right, Mr. Max?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you use it, that is why we keep on suggesting that we have to know what our children are doing.
Yes.
You don't just leave your children to do just anything. So if they are using the screen, it has to be more interactive. It has to be more educational, So it shouldn't be, because sometimes our children are even watching things that we have no idea.
Yes.
And one thing that we suggest is that make sure that you know the history of the things that your children are watching. Because some of them, it has negative connotation that you will not see it. And some of them also has spiritual implication that sometimes you don't understand why my child is behaving in a certain way. Because any creator or the creators of all the games and everything, they had something in mind at the back of their mind why they did that. So we have to make sure that indirectly because that is why sometimes some children are a little bit stubborn and they even talk back to their parents because of what they watch.
Yes.
And unknowingly, they also do the same.
Okay, bago tayo magtapos, may isang question. So eto, how much is too much? Mr. Max, what can we say about this?
Yeah, it's relative. What do I mean by relative? What you think is too much to another family is not too much. Even to another family, 8 hours a day is not too much. Because some people, even 24 hours is not enough for them. So it's all about trying to balance. Do you think that this will be beneficial to your child watching like movies, playing games for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours? Because the sad thing is that some children even refuse to eat. There are instances that people who are so addicted to games, their children even die because they don't even have time to even feed their children or give their children food, and they starve them. And there are instances that children even throw gadgets at their parents. Example, when the child is playing a game and the child thinks that I'm about to win, and daddy, here comes daddy, here comes mommy. 5 minutes for dinner, 5 minutes for lunch, 5 minutes for breakfast, and here comes the child. No, I have only 5 minutes. How come? And sometimes they tend to be so aggressive. So we have to try to strike a balance that this is good for my family, but for us, we try as much as possible that our children will not spend more than 2 hours on the screen.
With this in mind, screen time becomes a problem when it gets in the way of important things such as health, our relationships with our family members, our friends, and also schoolwork.
So we have to try as much as possible to try to balance whatever we are doing with our children and also talk to them in a nice way. We don't have to be too aggressive or too angry when they are doing repeated action. We don't have to be upset with them. We have to talk to them why we are saying what we are saying. Sometimes parents we found short of telling our children why they shouldn't do ABC. Stop this, don't do that. But sometimes they don't know the reason. So we have to explain to them, give them some of the positives, give them some of the negatives also, and they will choose. Sometimes you ask them, do you think this will be good for you or this? So sometimes we also have to negotiate with our children, not just only telling them what to do.
Yes, and the bottom line here, Mr. Max, right?
Yes.
Is that they need to be consistent. Sometimes you have to really be strong. I know there are families out there, mommy and daddy, they are like kind of feel like, oh, kawawa naman, sige na, pagbigyan. Pero alam nyo, sa totoo lang, kapag nag-set kayo ng rules, kailangan consistent. Consistent siya na alam ng mga anak ninyo ano ang rewards, ano ang consequences. Kasi kahit tayo, di ba, bilang tao, bilang anak ng Diyos, meron talaga tayong disciplinary action kapag gumawa tayo ng mali at may ginawa tayong tama. May reward tayo kay God. We hope you like our discussion today about the effects of gadgets on children.
Yeah, and we also believing that at least you'll get 1 or 2 lessons from this that you will try to implement and see the effect. And if you learn something from this and you get the result, don't hesitate to also get back to us and share some of the things that you get from this so that we all work together to bring the best in our children.
Thank you so
for
much.
your time.
Yes, don't forget, subscribe in our YouTube channel also, Darko Family. And thank you for this wonderful discussion from What Matters Most program. See you again.
Next episode.
Here in Filipinas, Malayang, Balita, airing here